Hello and welcome to episode 3 of On Your Marks, and today we're very privileged to have a superstar of middle distance running and the sport of athletics in general, Cam Myers, 19-year-old from Canberra in Australia. Welcome to the show, Cam.
Hey, nice to be here. Thanks for having me on, Sean.
Most welcome. Now, Cam recently ran an Australian 3,000 metres record of 7:27 in Boston on the famous indoor track in Boston, and he also won the Wanamaker Mile in New York City, the historic mile race over there. So he's recently won 2 massive international races. He's coming off a wave of success over there in the USA. Cam's raced well over 1,500 metres, right through to 5,000 metres on the track over the last couple of years in his very short track career so far. And he even has a range right up to 10k cross country, where he actually won the Australian cross country trial for the World Cross Country, which was in Florida. He won the trial on his home training course in Stromlo in Canberra very late last year. So he has that range really of a quick 800 metres and lightning quick 1,500 metres and miles and 3,000 metres events. But he's also very solid over the longer 5k and 10k distances. So he has PBs of, from what I can gather, 147 for 800 metres, 329 for 1,500 metres, 347 for the mile, 727 for 3,000 metres, 1332 for 5,000 metres, and then the 10k was just a cross-country run. His honours include a silver in the 2024 World Juniors 1500, a gold in the 2025 Australian Open Men's 1500 metres, and he also competed for Australia in the 2025 World Champs. Today we're going to be talking about training, mistakes, patience, and what actually matters if you're a young athlete trying to make it. All right, Cam, we might start with, where did your running journey begin?
I started running through school. I think, we have quite a good school system over here, and you sort of just compete at your school carnival and then go to the next level, which would be, I guess, districts and then state champs and nationals and sort of that sort of thing. And I sort of was doing that for maybe 3 or 4 years, as well as playing soccer quite competitively. And it wasn't until maybe COVID, where I guess team sports were kind of restricted heavily, that I decided I'd do running a little bit more seriously. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So you mentioned that COVID changed things around. You couldn't play team sports. So I figure COVID was around 2021. You would have only been quite young then. You would have only been 13, 14. So just into high school. Did you actually compete then in primary school sports, in running and the other sports you mentioned?
Yeah, I think primary school have their like separate national competitions and stuff, and I think maybe I won a primary school competition at one stage. Maybe I was 12 or something.
Nationals?
Yeah. I think that was my last year, so that's sort of, I was training but not much. I was mainly at that stage still doing soccer and maybe training on the track once or twice a week sort of thing.
Oh, very good. And when you trained on the track once or twice a week, did you have a coach, or were you running things
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah, I was coached by Lee Bobbin up until I was about 16. And whilst I was playing a lot of soccer and other sports, I think we benefited a lot from just doing a lot of high intensity stuff on the track, because I was getting so much low level aerobic work from, playing soccer for 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it was for training, that I could just benefit from going out and running fast sessions on the track. So that really worked well for quite a while.
Oh, very good. How many days a week were you training for soccer, and also how many games a week were you averaging?
I was probably training 3 or 4 times a week and then playing as well on a Saturday. So yeah, I was probably playing for 5 times a week for about 90 minutes or 2 hours.
Very good. And it's a real running game as well. What position did you play? Did you mix it around being a youngster, or did you start specialising in a particular position in soccer?
I was a left back for quite a while, and then one season I decided to have a go at striker, and that was kind of actually worked pretty well, being a little bit quicker.
Very good. I bet you showed a clean pair of heels anyway on the soccer field with a few of the kids. Now, were mum and or dad athletes at all?
No, they weren't runners, or athletes in general, actually. Yeah, so they were always, encouraging for me to do whatever I was to please. I guess I was always an active kid, but they didn't, yeah, play anything, or participate in any sports or anything. So, yeah,
Fair enough. How about, do you have any siblings at all?
yeah, I have a sister, so she actually started running before me, and she was coached by Lee Bobbin, my junior coach, before I was, and it wasn't until she sort of switched into this group and she was training that I decided, oh yeah, maybe I'll come along and do some sessions too.
Oh, fantastic. That's so often the case, isn't it? With anyone who gets into a sport, you'll follow an older brother or sister,
Exactly.
and then
Yeah.
that's really good. So when did you actually overtake your sister as being a quicker runner? I imagine you're quicker than her right now.
Yeah, I was quicker than her when I joined, I think, but yeah,
Yeah.
maybe she took it a little bit more seriously than I did growing up. So I don't know. I don't I don't know what age, but probably about for 10 or 11, I'd say.
Fair enough. Now, this podcast is a lot about junior development, and I'm really interested to know what sort of training you were doing with Lee. Like you mentioned, high intensity, once or twice a week as a young player, mixing it with soccer. What do you remember any of the workouts you were doing with Lee and his group?
Yeah, I could actually run through a rough week of what I was
Yeah,
doing.
sure.
So I think Monday we were on the track and we would usually do sort of an 800 work where we would might do something like, I don't know, 3 by 500 or 3 by 600 or something like that, which was quite intense, and you'd have full recovery or something in between. Tuesday, I played soccer on this day, but I also did the gym session, so it's just like one gym session a week, which was predominantly like, I guess, body weight stuff at that stage. And then on Wednesday, I did like an aerobic session, but I guess still pretty quick. It would be something like 30 by 200, 20 by 300, 15 by 400, something like that. Around about 6K of volume, but aerobic. Thursday, I think I had soccer training as well, but I would usually do something like 6 by 150 or something like that. So it was a speed session as well. And so that kind of complemented the soccer training pretty well as well. And I actually trained for soccer at the AIS. It just happened to my club played at the AIS, so I would, be able to walk over between, the track and soccer training as well. So that worked really conveniently. Friday I didn't do anything. I usually would play like a futsal competition on that day. Saturday it would depend what time my soccer was. But if I played soccer in the morning, I would just play soccer in the morning. But if I played in the afternoon, I'd usually go to training in the morning and then play a game in the afternoon. So, and then Sunday I'd either rest or run like 6 to 8K.
Okay, so you had a fairly full schedule there, running 3 or 4 times a week, and that was right up to the age of 15 or 16 with Lee. You're on that kind of schedule.
Yeah, well, I reckon about 14 or 15, 15 maybe. And then I sort of transitioned as COVID happened. I sort of transitioned more closer to what Dick was doing because at the time the groups were sort of merged in the sense that Tom Palfrey was still around in Canberra, and so
Yeah.
he would do some sessions with Jai and Rory and those sort of guys from Team Telford, and then I would just by coincidence join in as well. So at that stage, it sort of transitioned more into doing 3 workouts a week into Dick's program, but I was still officially coached by Lee, and he would sort of modify things as I was going. So I wasn't doing as much volume, but I was still doing sort of high intensity, I guess, throughout sort of when I was about 15 or 16. And then
Okay.
I fully transitioned to Dick after Nationals in 2023.
Fair enough. So you were doing some amazing work then, because if I look at your World Athletics profile and you go to the progression and you look at the age, you can work out, you were born in 2006, and then you work out your age and what you're doing at certain ages there. For example, you ran 800 metres in 155 at 14, so obviously
Yeah.
in the lead group then. Then that went to 150 at 15. Now, starting to get, as you know, you're starting to get very quick 150 at 15, but even 55 at 14 is amazing. And then the data I found for the 1500 metres, you were running 354 for 1500 metres at 14, and then it went down to 346 at 15. So that's all pre-Dick and with Lee Bobbin. Then you were an older 16-year-old, but you were still only 16. In that time, in the interim between the 346 and then you turned 16, you went all the way down to 333, a massive jump. And you were still only 16 when you ran the 333. I think you might have been 3 or 4 months before you turned 17.
I think I just turned 17 a couple of weeks before I ran. But yeah.
Yeah, but around that mark, around that 16, 17 age there. And then I do remember watching you in the mile at the Morrie plant, because I'd been living in Melbourne for 10 years, and I remember watching the mile, the 355 at Morrie plant there. So you would have been 16 then, is that correct?
Yeah.
I think quite incredible. And then you went down to 350 at the Prefontaine a year later, well, not even a year later. That was that same year, wasn't it? But you would have turned 17 and would have only just been 17, I think, at that point.
I don't think the year later. I think it was a year later.
Prefontaine was the following year. And you also ran a 3,000 in 752 at 16. So it's amazing. By my calculations, you were probably then only running off the 3 or 4 runs a week, probably only no more than 30k a week, I imagine. And then all that running was soccer, like you mentioned. On top of that.
Yeah, I got down to about 346, probably only running 50 or 60k a week, and then it was when I sort of started training with Dick through COVID. I got it probably up to, I don't think I broke ever 100k for a week before I ran 333. I think I was running about 85k, 90k a week at that stage.
Sure. So you definitely cranked it up to 50 or 60k by the time you were running, or after you'd run 346, in somewhere after that period, then you started building up just a little bit more, adding a run or two.
Yeah, so that was it. I just ran a few times because it was at that stage I wasn't really doing any jogging prior to that. So then it was just adding, I guess, easy runs in, whether that was 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. And I never really did a long run up until, I guess I was, 16 or 17.
Sure. And that would have been around that period when you were transitioning from Lee to Dick. Yeah. And you mentioned things like Tom Palfrey being on the scene. So now Tom had been a Sydney boy, is that right? No, was he a Canberra boy, but he was moving back? Is that right?
He was a Canberra boy. He was in Canberra throughout, I guess, over until he went to Oregon.
Okay, sure. Yeah, there you go. So you mentioned Tom. Had he been in Lee Bobbin's group as well?
Yeah. I think he actually transitioned to Dick maybe a year before I did, and he was then he went off to college, I guess.
Sure.
Before I joined Dick, I think.
Yeah, he's been doing remarkably well this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really one to watch now. He's really knocking on the door and potentially going to be making Australian teams this year. And
absolutely.
So, that's great. So another Lee Bobbin star.
Yeah.
And how's Lee going? Is he? Are there any more Cam Myers or any other young guns out there coming through?
I'm not entirely sure he's coaching still.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure. The thing is, we don't get many young people that do running sort of in Canberra. Like the numbers are quite limited, and Des Proctor, who's a junior coach down here, he has, I guess, probably 85% of those younger kids that start running in Canberra usually join him. So but in terms of raw numbers, we might get like 5 people that run at the state championships in terms of like actually run.
Okay. Yeah. Now we'll go back to when you were the early days of joining Dick then. So that would have been more of an informal thing, and you were being then helped by Dick and Lee at the same time. When you were then full time just with Dick, did the workload increase just very gradually with Dick, and or what were the main changes once you said goodbye to Lee completely and you were purely in Dick's camp? How did things change there?
Very, very slightly actually. I mean,
Yeah,
um, yeah, very, very slightly. I'd say over the course of probably 2 years, I got from doing maybe 50% of a session to close to 100%. So then, by the time I joined Dick, I was pretty much doing, I guess, the full program. Um, Still modified slightly just based off volume and stuff like that. But yeah, by the time I joined, I'd pretty much be doing the full program, and it was only that I was running a fair bit less than most other people that um, allowed me to sort of, I guess, give a bit more for my sessions.
fair enough. So when you mention the full program, you're talking about workouts. So for example, maybe 1K reps or whatever reps you were doing, you're talking like if the big boys were doing 10 reps, you might have been doing five and then you gradually built up to 10, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, so a standard session for us on a Saturday would be like 6 by K, 5 by 200, something like that. And yeah, I started by doing 6 by 600, and this is at Stromlo, so you sort of run down the hill, and then I would cut across, and then just join in and do the 600-meter reps, and then it became that I would get to 800, and then I got to a K, but I would sort of get to 600, get to 800 running with a 3-minute pace group, and then eventually I was able to do a K, and then from once I got there, I was building up the speed as well. So it was a process that took a fair amount of time, but I think yeah, it also helps me to remain healthy for that whole duration as well.
That's really interesting. So you're training with the big guys like Jai, and you were getting a longer recovery from than they were, like around Stromlo, for example. So while they were doing a K, you were doing a 600. So I imagine you were running at about their pace, knowing the times you were doing, but they were going for another 400. So therefore, you would have been getting another minute or maybe a minute 15 recovery for that
Yeah,
kind of. Is that correct? Yet? So still a little bit more speed focused and
yeah,
less endurance focused, and it's obviously helped you. It's obviously one way to skin the cat, but to turn into the 329 man you are now pretty quickly. That seemed to be the process there. You mentioned doing strength work or resistance work. I think you mentioned with Lee when you were young. I think on Tuesday. Is that right?
yeah, yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that, because I know a lot of the young listeners and viewers, they would be really interested to know what you were doing as a younger developing athlete even before you joined Dick there for your resistance work or your strength work.
yeah. So I can't remember exactly specifics about it, but I know that there was like lower body, a fair amount of core, a fair amount of plyometric stuff. It wasn't overly complicated, but I think it was just sort of hitting the main, I guess, muscle groups that needed to be hit without, I guess, overdoing it. That'd be the biggest thing, and just being consistent, I guess, in with the strength. I guess that's the big thing at this age is just being consistent in the gym and doing it for a period of time without it affecting your training, I guess.
100%. Do you remember doing any band work?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so we did a lot of band work, activating the glutes and stuff like that, as
Yeah.
opposed to doing stuff with heavy, heavy weights. Like, I think I did get to the point where I was doing squats maybe with 60 kilos or something like this, but it wasn't, it never really exceeded that. So, um,
No. Fair
it,
enough.
yeah,
Yeah, and a lot of plyometrics as well, which is good to hear. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Have you incorporated much hill work as a developing runner, building through with Lee and then with Dick?
Yeah,
Any
so,
hill work?
yeah, so we actually have this ridge that's right next to the AIS, and it was during COVID that I started to really training with Dick. We would do this hill segment, which was like maybe a 5.5K tempo sort of thing, which was yeah, we just run hard up the hills and easier down the hills. And I guess the other guys would have done probably 7K. So I would do 3 reps and they would do 4 reps. And then we would do short hill sprints like 6 by 150 meters or something like that after. And that sort of was our substitution for a track session during COVID, just because access was limited. And so we're doing that every Tuesday, and then we're getting out to Stromlo every Thursday, which incidentally has hills anyways, and then Stromlo again on a Saturday. So yeah, I mean, hills wasn't a huge focus, but it was just happening incidentally more than anything.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people associate Stromlo with being a pretty quick course and not an overly hilly cross-country course compared to a lot of the courses around the country, around the world. But you do have that pretty brutal hill there, don't you, early on the big loop there? So you've done a
Yeah,
fair bit of hill sprint work there on that hill?
not a huge amount actually. It's
No?
more so just adjusting sort of like there's some gentle downhills, and I guess if you run the course reverse or whatever, you can find some pretty good places to do hills. And then also out the back, there's the Stromlo Observatory Hill, which is about just under 4K,
Yeah.
which is a road sort of tempo that we do pretty frequently through the winter. And then there's some shorter hill sprints that we do after that. So I mean, I guess the whole Stromlo Forest Park is got plenty of hills that we can use. So it's just about finding the ones that we utilize really.
Yeah. So is that the main place you do your trail running around Canberra, the Stromlo Forest Park and up around Mount Stromlo, the dirt roads?
Uh,
All...
Actually, a very very slim amount of running there. As it turns out in Canberra, you have like very very good trail networks that within 5 minutes of anywhere you are in Canberra. So yeah, we usually stay closer to the north side, so we use Mount Ainslie, O'Connor
Yeah.
Ridge, places like that, and they're all relatively undulating and good trails. So yeah, we have plenty of places here that we mix it up a fair bit.
Yeah, I really like that Mount Ainslie loop around there. It's beautiful. Great part
Yeah,
of the world there. And a lot of the North Canberra trails are really nice, aren't they? I think there's Mulligans as well, kind of on the north
yeah,
side.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a...
I lived about 5 minutes away from that, so
I,
I do a fair bit of running there.
oh, nice. Yeah, pretty popular Canberra running spot there too. That's really good. And on the hills, even bigger hills, I'm pretty sure, I know Dick's been going there for years because I used to see him down there a bit, but Pericha and Jindabyne. So you like to go and do training camps down there in the mountains?
Yeah, I spent a fair bit of time there, just throughout, I guess, the months transitioning into the summer season, and then even throughout the summer season, I do spend a fair bit of time there. I actually was there maybe 2 weeks ago. For just after I got back from the US, I was there for about three and a half weeks. So
Oh,
yeah,
good
it's
for you.
a nice spot of the world.
Do you still stay up in Perisher in the lodge up there?
Yeah, so I'm actually a member of a lodge, so that's nice. Being able to get accommodation at a slightly discounted rate and being able to book it in myself and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely handy.
Yeah. Would that be one of your favourite spots in the world to train, down Perisher and Jindabyne?
Yeah, I mean it's a hilly place. It's a tough place to train, but I think
Yeah.
it's almost so boring that you got nothing else to do but run, eat, and sleep. So I think that's the simplicity of it that makes it so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. So many Aussie runners go to Falls Creek in that part of the world. Maybe because it's a little bit more accessible to Melbourne, where, as you know, so many runners live. But I reckon a lot of people should give, the Jindabyne, Perisher, Thredbo, all that part up around Kosciuszko, all the trails around there a go, even if only once in their life, because it's so beautiful up around there. Do you have a favourite
absolutely.
course up there to do a medium or a long run on?
We have this place called Rags Creek, which is it's a good run. It's probably about 14K. It's pretty bloody hilly though. I'd say it's probably about 300 meters of elevation in the 14K. So there isn't much flat you're gonna get up there realistically. So yeah, it's nice. You just got to run a bit slower.
100%. Do you ever do the Guthaga run down around down to the river and up to the Guthaga and Blue Cow
Yeah,
around there?
yeah, yeah. We've done that a fair few times. We actually start a lot of training sessions from Gothica as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done hill repeats on any of the ski runs, like
No,
going
we
straight
haven't
up
actually.
the mountain?
No, we haven't.
Fair enough. And how about the Mount Kosciuszko trail from Charlotte Pass? Have you done that run? The
Yeah,
9K?
we
Yeah.
use that for easy runs. Actually, that's one of the runs we do because it's actually probably the flattest run you have around. Even though it's
Yeah.
at about 2,000 meters, it's probably the flattest you're going to get around there. So that's one of our recovery runs.
Awesome. Going to
Yeah,
the highest point in Australia for a recovery run. You know you're getting fit when you're doing that. Yeah.
exactly.
I do remember when we were going down there, I think the run, the 9K, no, sorry, the 18K, we went 9K from Charlotte Pass car park, or not car park, the end of the road there, up to the top of Kosciuszko and back again. Made it about 18K. I think Michael Shelley might have had the record at the time, and he was
Yeah,
training with Dick at the time there. And it was something incredible. I think maybe 105 or something like that off memory. Quite an incredible run. But you guys are going and only running easy up there, so fair enough.
yeah,
You won't be chasing that record down.
no
Um,
chance.
no. So at the moment, then you're in the team Telford. Who's in the squad at the moment? Tell us a little bit about the other squad members.
We've got obviously myself, Jai, a couple. Oh, geez, it's gonna take me a while to name everyone. I live with two guys who also train the group, Tom Cross and Charlie Chandler. He's actually a Melbourne guy. Aiden Velton, who actually came second this year at National Cross. Aaron Parker, I guess Rory Hunter's still in the group. Connor Whiteley. Hope I don't forget anyone. We've got a pretty good group here, so plenty of people to run with, and yeah, people with different strengths and weaknesses, which helps to sort of complement each other.
Yeah, that's a great group, a really strong list of names you've mentioned there. I've seen Connor Whiteley charging around for years now, and he's a name to be reckoned with. And then, Aidan Velton there, he was in Melbourne for quite a long time as a junior, and he developed really well. I think particularly once he joined your group, he went right through the roof there, and I think he was right up there in National Cross last year in a couple of the big winter races. So looking forward to watching him continue to develop as well. So wonderful group there, and you're obviously you'd be the king of the heat now. So they'd be looking up to you. You know, you're only probably are you one of the younger ones in the group still?
Yeah, although we have a fair few amount of younger guys coming just to do uni in Canberra or whatever, so they join, 18, 19. But yeah, I'll be one of the younger ones.
Yeah, sure. So now you've made you did hit that 333 just around the time when you turned 17. Now you're 19 and you're turning 20 in June. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking about 3 years ago now when you did the 333. But as you know, that's a big jump from 333 to 329, and goodness knows what you can do this year and next year. Your indoor form's indicating you'll go even quicker than that outdoors if the cards fall right and things go your way. But it's still a huge jump. It's like being from maybe number 30 or 40 in the world to now being one of the best milers in the world. Like you're right up there in the top handful. In that period, is there anything? I think I've heard you talk a few times. Is there anything in particular that you've done, or has it just been a gradual chipping away and ticking all the boxes and just following the Telford training philosophy, do you think?
Well, actually, yeah, I probably had a slightly different experience than a lot of guys that run quick younger. I sort of continued to do the same thing in 2024, run a little bit more volume, closer to 110k a week, 115k a week, but I wasn't sort of getting the improvement that I hoped to have gotten. And I think that's when, at the end of that year, I sort of sat down with Dick and JT, and we sort of were thinking, I was in the London Diamond League. I think I came sixth there. But if we looked at all those guys on paper, I'd probably have the slowest of the 3Ks. So I think that's where we decided that's what we needed to do if we want to get better. I need to get better over 3K and 5K so that I can be strong enough to hang, and not just hang, but actually accelerate in the last 100, 200 meters. So that next year, 2025, we spent a lot of time working on the strength, and I feel like I developed a pretty good system where I ran probably 130 to 140k a week, with a day off, and so I was getting quite a lot more volume. I was feeling fresher for the harder workouts, and inevitably my 3k I got down from about 746 to 733 in that sort of time frame from World Juniors, which was in September, to the time I ran a 3k in January. So over that course of 4 or 5 months, I was able to improve quite a lot over 3k, and I think that's what helped me get the strength I needed to hang on, and not just hang on, but be a contender.
Awesome. Yeah, that endurance is so important, and right down to 800 metres as well, which is probably a bit shorter than your speciality. I remember JT saying once, because he had a lot to do with some of the top Kenyan runners, as you know, including the great David Rudisha, and he told me that brother Colm O'Connell, David's coach, and himself, JT, they generally wouldn't allow David to race unless he could do a 6K hilly course, basically a 6K time trial on a hilly course at altitude, I think 2,400 metres in Iton, in under 20 minutes, which, as
Yeah,
you
that
know,
sounds familiar.
altitude, yeah, at
Yeah,
that altitude for a big fella who's an 800-metre runner, not even a 15 runner, you've got to be really fit to do that. He would have been, he probably could have broken 30 for 10 on the track or on a flat course if you could do that. So that's the kind of shape he would have been in. But I think they figured he always had that speed. As long as he touched on it once or twice a week, he always had that speed. He could bang out a 45 for 400 at any time of the year, including beating the top Aussies. But he didn't quite have that mega endurance. And once they worked out that he also needed the endurance, then he was on top of the world and running 140. And, winning virtually unbeatable. Seems like the same kind of pathways being forged for you as a miler. So that's wonderful to see. Now, you mentioned going from, around 110K a week to 140, which is quite significant. That would have been more doubles thrown in there, would it? And longer long runs? Is that the way you did it? How did you progress from
no,
that?
I actually,
Yeah,
I actually
okay.
never, I actually never changed my long run. I've kept that at about 20K. I would say, well, actually, I, 50% of the time I don't even do a long run. I just run probably an hour, 70 minutes on a Sunday. So Sunday's more a conventional recovery day more than anything, just to recover and absorb the training I've done in the previous week. So generally, my weeks just look like 20K on the easy days, split into two runs. 8K double Tuesday morning, 8K double Saturday afternoon with sessions those days. A bigger double threshold day on a Thursday, which might, be 16 to 18K of threshold, split across two sessions. And yeah, day off on Friday. And I think that's worked pretty well for me.
Sure. Now, you mentioned easy runs. What would be your easy run pace? Do you pay attention to that kind of data, or do you just go and run how you
Nah, I'm I don't know what the word is for it. Some days I
feel?
run quick, some days I run slow. There's yeah, very erratic. That's the word for it. Yeah, it just purely depends on how I feel.
So some days you run quick and an easy run. What would be a quick easy run for you? Feeling good.
3:45s,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
a slow one might be 5:15s. So
Yeah.
it's quite a big range. Yeah.
Huge range there, and yeah, 3:45 feeling easy. Well, good luck to you. I take my hat off to you there. And how about your threshold pace? That'd be a little bit more scientific, would it? Do you have tick or anybody taking your bloods or when you're doing
Yeah.
threshold workouts?
Yeah, I do take bloods. Although we like I put them into a spreadsheet and stuff and just track it over time. Um, Aiming for about 2 millimole in the morning and about 4 millimole in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm probably running, yeah, 3:10s to 3:15s in the morning, and then probably closer to 2:55s in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that fairly common when you're doing threshold, not only for yourself but other people you train with, and from what you've heard, that people tend to have a quicker threshold pace and or, are able to operate closer to 4 in the afternoon and then closer to 2, but only more likely to go for 2, 2.5 or 3 in the morning? Do you find that, or is that more your thing?
No, I think most people just try and generally be a bit lower in the morning and then afternoon do the harder session.
Yeah.
Which you can do it either way, really. I mean, you're probably fresher in the morning, so if you wanted to do the hard session, then it makes more sense, I guess. But yeah, you generally actually feel a lot better after finishing a threshold at like 2 millimole. Because I mean, if you're doing stuff at 2 millimole, you can probably hold a conversation at that speed. So it's not
Yeah.
something that's so taxing on your body that you have to take a day or two to recover. It's something that you can pretty much recover within a couple hours, really. Yeah.
True. And And now you're a pro athlete, you travel all around the world to train and race, so would I be correct in saying you're kind of following the sun these days, like, or do you still do a bit of cold weather training at altitude in any parts of the world? Like, for example, you're in Australia during the summer, but then you're overseas usually during their summer. Is that the way it's been panning out for the last 2 years or so for you?
Yeah, it actually has. I spent a little bit of time at Persia this year when it was snowing. That was a bit of it was a bit different to what I'm used to, and I guess indoors I get a bit of cold weather. But yeah,
Yeah.
most of the time I'm just following the sun, as you said. So yeah, which is nice, I guess. Yeah, nice to be able to train in warm weather and do fast stuff without feeling too forced all year round.
Yeah, I mean, that might be better for your conditioning as well. We all know about the altitude training, but of course there's the poor man's altitude, which you might know about, or Dick may have told you about, i.e. training in heat and or humidity can
Yeah,
help build plasma just like training at altitude would. So you're getting the best of everything there by the sound of it. You're having your stints at altitude and you're following the sun and probably in many cases humidity as well, and just building that plasma as the months go on and the years go on, and you're still only very young, you're building up that engine, which is great. And you do prefer training in the afternoon, and in so many places in the world, I know particularly including in Eastern Australia, it's much warmer at 4 in the afternoon or 5 in the afternoon than it would be at 8 in the morning, for example. So you're probably doing those quicker workouts in the heat as well without thinking too
yeah,
much about it. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think a few times before going over to the US in January, I did a few workouts where it might have been 35 or 36 degrees on the track in the afternoon, and it's like it's not ideal if you're doing longer reps, but it's just what you got to do. Especially training for that 5K in December. I did a lot of workouts where I'd drop down from altitude and come down to Canberra and do a workout, and it'd be like mid 30s, and it's really difficult. But I think it definitely builds a part of you that you don't get otherwise. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
There you go. Now, one person I wanted to ask you about, but you didn't bring him up because I know he hasn't been doing as much running, and that's Josh Johnson. Did you do a fair bit of running with Josh,
Yeah, yeah.
a runner?
Yeah, JJ's been great for me. I sort of started in the group when he was running quite well, so he's always been a pretty good mentor for me. Just I guess a lot of the mistakes he made in his career, I guess it'd be the things that he made sure I didn't do. So I think that was been a very integral part of my journey, is just helping finding the things that people make mistakes and just trying to avoid those things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So you had a great mentor there with Josh, and he did some great things with running with the 3:39 and moving up to longer distances as well, and being very competitive over 5 and 10K. And yeah, so he's still in the Canberra scene there and working down there at the moment. Do you think he'll be back in the Telford group?
Well, I mean, he's not in the Telford group. He's not doing so much running at the moment, but I think he's aspiring to get back there at some stage. So yeah, he's still around our group, does a lot for us in terms of physio and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good to have someone around who can I guess share their experiences in the sport.
Big time. You might have to watch your back. I used to tell Josh all the time, way back when I coached him, that he had the best kick in Australia. So uh, even after he moved back down to Yass and moved to training with Dick, I always kept telling him, "You've got the best kick in Australia, mate. Just keep believing in yourself." So watch your back there, Cam, because
I
you
will.
might be again. I know Josh is a very determined character. Yeah. So now I wanted to talk to Dick, but we had a bit of a technical issue there. But you might know this or you may not. But your coach Dick, I know he fell into coaching way back in around 1980 or 1981. Do you know what he coached before he coached running?
He coached cricket.
Oh, he told you, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I to tell the listeners, or you might like to tell the listeners, do you know what success he had as a cricket coach?
Did he coach the Victorian team in cricket? Yeah, I'm not sure to the extent of his success, but I also know he played a fair bit of cricket.
He played a fair bit of cricket. I think he'll tell you exactly what he played. I think he played third grade, which is like I've had mates who played third grade, second grade, and they're very, very good cricketers. It mightn't sound that crash hot, but When you're playing grade cricket and you're in the higher grades, you're a good player. And then I know he was studying sports science. Might have been at one of the might have been Melbourne Uni, where he
Melbourne,
was.
yeah, Melbourne Uni. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was a Melbourne boy, I think, originally, and he was one of the first sports scientists in Australia because it wasn't a thing way back in the 70s. You know, like it is now. Every second kid will be studying sports science, but um, he was the actual sports scientist for the Victorian cricket team, and then they had an English coach who had to go back home for one reason or another, and so it was for the Sheffield Shield competition, which was the main domestic Australian cricket competition at that point in time. So all the states were involved, Victoria, New South Wales, etc. And when the English coach had to leave, Dick was the one who they all pointed to, and they said, well, Dick, you mightn't have coached, but you've been a good player, you're on the staff, can you coach us? And he did. And they won 2 in a row. They won 2 years in a row under Dick.
Wow.
Fanny went up and got the job when the AIS was set up, I think in 1980, got the job as the sports scientist up there, or one of them. And then the program became very successful very quickly with people like Robert De Costello running outstanding. And the coach at the time, Pat Clohessy, who you might have met. Have you met Pat Clohessy before?
I've never met Pat, no.
No.
I've heard lots about him, but yeah, I haven't met him.
Yeah. So Pat, I think he had too many athletes to look after at that level in the end. And in the end, a few were asking Dick, or he kind of fell into coaching a few after a while, and that's how he got into running coaching. And then he became a really good masters coach, and I think he ran 4 dead at 40 for 1500, which
Yeah.
if you're still running in another 21 years time and you can run 4 dead, you're going well there, Cam, because the wheels normally fall off, you know. But no, he was a good runner and built up the coaching over the years. But you've got a man who's been around for a long time in sport, but not only in running, cricket as well, probably other things that I don't know about. Now, what do you find with the talking about Dick and the sports science? Do you do much testing at all? Obviously, it's an ongoing thing when you're training and you're keeping an eye on the lactate levels, it sounds like, very regularly, if not every time you're doing any kind of threshold running. But does Dick or any other sports scientists, do they ever have you in the labs and test you out much, like VO2 max,
Yeah.
lactate threshold, running economy, anything like that?
Yeah, I work with the physiologists at the AIS as well as Dick, and we get in the lab probably. We try and get in there about twice a year just to see how things are going. Yeah, and I mean, generally, I guess at my current level and the fitness I'm getting, I don't think I'm going to get too much better in terms of the values that I get in the lab. But yeah, it's nice to sort of have the validation before I go over and race. And actually, I went, the week I left to the US, I went and did a lab test that week. So I was pretty confident based on my values that I'd be pretty similar shape to what I was, before I ran 329 last year. So it's actually nice to go back and look at your results and know that you're in a pretty good spot. So
That's good. Yeah, athletes of all levels need the reassurance, don't they, that they're tracking well and your own body's operating maybe at a point better than it ever has, or on equal footing with where you've been. It's reassuring when you toe the line, isn't it, to have a bit of data behind you. Tell me, like, on these tests, has any physiologist, including Dick or anyone, have they ever mentioned, wow, you've got an unbelievable level for this or that, like might be your lactate threshold or your running economy or anything? Has anyone said, wow, this is just off the charts?
I don't think I'm necessarily incredible in any metric themselves, but I think I'm pretty high in most things, and I think that helps. I've got a pretty good running economy, pretty good threshold, probably a better threshold than most, and my ability to shuttle lactate's quite good.
Imagine that too, would you?
My VO2 wasn't actually that high. I think it was pretty.
Really?
Yeah, it was probably low to mid 70s, or actually about mid 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is I guess probably fairly common amongst 1500 meter runners. Maybe as you go closer to 5K, you might see a little higher numbers. My max lactate's not super high, but yeah, my ability to hold certain lactate levels at different speeds is quite good. So yeah, it's all interesting stuff, but at the end of the day, I think you have the best feeling of just knowing without even using the data. I have a pretty good feeling that I can usually guess within a second of what sort of shape I'm in over a 1500, a 3K, a 5K even, based off just my training alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Have you ever been tested for jumping, like vertical or horizontal, like standing long jumps, or yeah?
Oh, I wouldn't want to. My
Uh,
jumping's not great. I do a fair bit in the gym, which is good, but I haven't ever been tested in terms of jumping. But yeah, we do a fair bit
yeah.
of stuff, even just holding weights and doing jumps and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Do box work, jumping on the boxes with the weights, or
yeah. So yeah, we do a fair bit of all that stuff, which I think is really good for developing power and stuff. So yeah.
how many days a week are you doing the strength work now under Dick?
I was doing three, and then I actually moved it back down to two, with more like specificity and better periodization and stuff. So I think that's worked really well, and I've definitely seen more improvements of reducing the days.
Okay. Now you're managed by JT or James Templeton, who's been around a long time now. Now he's been a world-renowned manager for decades, and people like Rhodesia and Legat under his wing. What ways has JT helped you in your running career?
He's pretty good in the terms of like not pushing me into anything that he doesn't think I'm necessarily ready for. I think when the time to take the risks are there, we definitely take the risks, but we're pretty conservative in our approach. I guess probably the biggest one that might have, I guess, shocked a few people is in 2023 when I qualified for Budapest. I actually decided not to go, and I think that was something that was really good in terms of like, if you were watching the sport, you might have thought, wow, that's a bit of an interesting decision, but given the context of being in Europe for like 6 weeks, my first time going away, I hadn't really been doing a lot of aerobic work. I'd just been doing race after race after race for 6 weeks, not much training. I think if I had stayed in Europe for another 4 or 5 weeks and then done World Championships, I actually would have run quite poorly. So it's nice to have someone in my corner that's able to help me make decisions based on what's best for me. So yeah, I think that's been really good, and he's obviously had some great athletes in the past. So him being able to share experiences of those athletes in ways that I can use their experiences to help shape my own training or racing or whatever it is, and I think that's been really valuable for me.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. You've got a good man in your corner there. Now, on upcoming races, now are you racing the Maury Plant meet in the mile?
Yeah, so I'm racing 1500, I think it is, on Saturday,
I think,
which would be good.
yeah,
It'd be good to have guys like Fark and guys like Adam Spencer, who's obviously just done an incredible job to win bronze. So good to have
oh, he's coming up.
a good,
Okay, wow. Yeah,
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 it'll
yeah.
be a good field, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it. Should be good.
Yeah, I know Peyton Craig does a bit of training up here on the sunny coast with my daughter, and he was telling me a few weeks ago he wanted to line up in that. So I think he still is, even though it's like longer than what his preferred distance is. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes. Then you're looking at the national 1500 metres again and defending your title.
Yeah, of course, 1500
Yeah,
and do the 5K again this year. So
well,
um,
good.
naturally, I don't do that much specific 5K training, but I think my training does lean towards the 5K anyway. So, yeah, it'd be nice just to test myself, see where I'm at, and I think more than anything, it's actually quite fun to do a tactical 5K. So, yeah, I enjoy
Yeah.
it.
So I think it's a 5-day meet for the seniors now in Sydney. What you got a 1500 metres like on day 1 and 2, is it? And then the 5K on day 5, is it something like that?
I'm actually probably the worst person to ask. I'm so
Yeah.
disorganized that I'll check like the week of the race, I reckon.
Fair
Um,
enough.
yeah.
Oh, well, you did it very well last year, and you nearly pulled off the double, didn't you? It was very close.
Close, but not quite strong enough to beat Seth, that's for sure.
Yeah, yes, that definitely went very well, no doubt about that. So, oh well, might have to be a rematch there.
No, it'd be a good one for sure.
Yeah, it could be a media headline, a rematch between the Flying Mullet and... Do you have a nickname?
Can.
I think somebody out there has got to come up with a good nickname for you. But anyway, that's for another day. And then your major goal, I mean, that's obviously pretty major, your own national championships, it's very big. But your major goals for 2026, what are they?
I want to run the Australian record in the 1500. Obviously, really wanted to get that last year, and I think having fallen in London and Silesia being a slow race, those two were my opportunities, and I kind of blew those ones. So, yeah, definitely looking to get a quick 1500 in this year. So, I'm racing in Stockholm on the 7th of June. But other than that, I actually don't have too many 1500s. So, hopefully try and run in Paris. Let's go 1500 there. And then a lot of miles this year because they've obviously got the Com Games. I'm doing the Prefontaine Mile. I'm doing Oslo Mile. So, yeah, it's going to be good. But, yeah, those would be my goals to get the mile record and the 1500 record.
Superb. Yeah, so there's been talk already. The Americans love to talk, but they also love you young guns, people like you and even younger Sam Ruth. So the Americans are talking up the Prefontaine Mile this year. Cole Hocker, the Olympic champion over 1500, been in great form, and obviously Sam Ruth and yourself, and there'll be others as well, no doubt, being touted in that field in Prefontaine. Now, you've raced there once, have you, at Eugene, or more than once now?
Twice, and I actually paced 1 year as well. So,
yeah. Well, how do you find that stadium and the track and the town?
It's pretty nice. I mean, the facilities are amazing. I mean, I would have liked to see Haywood before it was sort of renovated. That would have been pretty cool. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. I definitely enjoy running there, but by no means would I be saying it's any better than Canberra.
Fair enough. It sounds, you're a little bit like Steve Monaghetti talking up Ballarat with your Canberra. That's great. I like Canberra. I love Canberra. Always enjoy my visits there, just like Ballarat. That's good. I really, really like Eugene though. What a great place to race. And you've mentioned all these incredible European meets as well that you want to go well in. And the Commonwealth Games mile, that'll be interesting too. They haven't had a mile in the Commonwealth Games since maybe 1962.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the last time the mile was, but I think it's a slightly different dynamic having the 4 laps opposed to 3 3/4. You wouldn't think it would make such a big difference, but I think it definitely does sort of suit those slightly more aerobic guys, which is nice for me. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
So you are one of the top, current milers going around, and the Commonwealth certainly do have plenty of good milers just in those Commonwealth countries, particularly if you all decided to put your hand up and nominate and then line up. Look how good. Obviously, you don't have Great Britain in the Commonwealth Games. You've got England, Scotland, and Wales, and Northern Ireland. And then you've got Australia, New Zealand, and whatnot. But if you just put together the top men at the moment, people like Kerr and Whiteman and all your good Aussie boys, and then the Kiwis are flying now, including young Ruth and Tanner and Geordie Beamish, and there's a whole bunch out there. And the Kenyans, there's always a whole range of Kenyan Ugandans who could line up. It could be a really good Commonwealth race in Glasgow. Have you raced in Scotland or Glasgow before?
Never raced there. Looking forward to going there. That would be awesome.
I remember going to the 2014 Commonwealth Games. Really exciting event. One of the best track meets I've ever been to. Mainly because of the people. The locals were so loud and enthusiastic and friendly. And I like a bit of music and singing, like you probably do, Cam. And that was one of the best parts of the whole meet. They just were singing all the time. All these Scottish songs like 500 miles, and I would walk 500 miles, and a whole bunch of these Scottish songs while people are racing, like literally while a 50 kilometres was on or a 10k, they'd be breaking, roaring, and particularly in between events as well. So very, very loud stadium. Now imagine it'll be in the same stadium. It was one of the might have been the Glasgow Rangers. I think Glasgow have 2 football teams, and it was one of their one of the soccer or football clubs stadiums where they had the track, and it was brilliant atmosphere. So that could be something really to look forward to there, and particularly if you run well too.
Yeah.
So it looks like that will be very exciting, and then obviously in the future then you've got a big future at your feet. But I did my maths really quickly, and I thought to myself, Cam Myers will only be mid-20s or 25 or 26 years of age in 2032 when the home soil Olympics are on in Brisbane. So I guess you probably don't think too much about that at the moment, do you?
Not too much, although that's the sort of the big long term goal, I guess, for myself. Is,
Yeah.
the home Olympics. I don't think you can really get any better than winning a home Olympics. So that would probably be the pinnacle of my career, I guess. So that's what we're all gearing up towards.
Exactly. It's good to have those long-term dreams. And I think a lot of the kids your age and younger out there, obviously none of whom would be at your level really, out of the Australians at the moment, but a lot of them would be thinking, well, you know, if I train hard, then the 2032 Olympics might be a goer. Now, I have a few questions there, Cam. They're short, one or two word answer questions here now for you. They're more lighthearted. So I'll fire them off to you and just answer them really quickly. You ready for them?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's basically what do you prefer? So you just have to let me know what you prefer for all of these. Morning runs or night runs or afternoon runs?
Ooh, we'll go morning.
Yep. Long runs or speed sessions?
Speed sessions.
Okay. Solo runs or group runs?
Group runs.
Yep. Music or no music on runs?
No music.
Okay. Running in the heat or the rain?
Heat.
Hitting runs or flat runs?
Flat.
And finally, what is your go-to coffee order post-run?
Small flat white.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah.
Beautiful coffee. All right, thanks, Cam. So we can see that Cam has done some remarkable things in running in a short space of time for one so young. Whichever way you look at it, though, he stayed loyal to his coach, trained consistently, and learnt from his mistakes. He shows good sportsmanship to fellow runners out on the track. Cam is an amazing role model to younger kids. For example, my 11-year-old nephew, Eddie Williams, lists Cam as his favourite athlete. Cam spends long periods of time after races engaging with youngsters, realising that the sport is much bigger than him alone. He's already a global star, and who knows what the future can hold for Cam. He may end up bigger than Muhammad Ali when it is all done and dusted. You going to take up boxing, Cam?
No chance. I don't think I'd fare well in the ring.
Fair enough. Anyway, thanks for coming on the show, Cam. It has been a really big honour to have you on, and good luck, and hopefully see you in the local tracks very soon.
Thanks very much, John.
Good, and thanks for watching and listening, folks. Don't forget, keep your toes behind the line at the start, and always run right through the finishing line as hard as you can, and what you do in between is up to you. Thank you.